Welcome to Gracie Schwartzwald. I'm here again with Erkan Mete, and he's sharing some of his great knowledge about using weapons, specifically the stick in this situation, for self-defense. One thing that happens, again, is people, just like a fight without weapons, will often want to get control of you. Not saying that they will control you in an intelligent way, but they will still often try to control you. So even with the weapon, even though it may be a bad idea, tactically, if you hesitate, you have a weapon, you maybe haven't really worked up the nerve to hit somebody with it, they may come in and try to grab the head. Again, they're ignoring the weapon we dealt with when they grabbed the weapon, but in this situation, they're going to grab you by the head. So what would you do?
Also, in this case, the combination between Jiu-Jitsu principles and stick fighting principle, it's great because as we learn in Jiu-Jitsu, if someone gets you in a headlock, is to have a good position on the side of your opponent.
Good spine alignment.
Good spine alignment, looking in his ear so he cannot pull you down.
Right.
If you're able to get this position, you have plenty of opportunities to use the weapon in your hand.
Right.
Even if it's just a keychain or just keys sticking somewhere out from your fist.
Right.
With the stick, it looks like that. So if you have me in a headlock and I'm in a good alignment, I can use the stick to press you away. This is one position. Yeah. You can press away, you can do percussion hits to pull him away from you, going back and have you stick again. If you're not able to go in front of his head, again, it's the same like the clinching position. You can grab here and press in the short ribs. If you go further up, you can press here on how you call that one?
The clavicle.
The clavicle.
Collarbone.
Collarbone, yeah. You can press on the collarbone. You can use the end portion of the stick to press in the neck. But I would prefer to press down there. Or if you're able, you can go in front of his head, pushing away. So this is when you're able to have the good position, the good posture.
Yeah.
But if he is able to pull you down and you're not in the ground, you can use the punyo to hit the groin. You can control the fist and use your jiu-jitsu techniques. You can go in between his legs and take this leg and go forward and lift him up until you do the camel toe technique again.
You know what that's very similar to?
To which one?
It's to the high crotch lift.
Uh-huh.
So when we, come in and then lift.
Yeah.
So you can lift him with the stick and turn him like Daniel Cormier.
Yeah, that's right. So you can, a stick is perfectly using the same jiu-jitsu principles we have.
Yeah, and one thing we want to emphasize is that there's really three kinds of weapons, right? There's blunt weapons, edged weapons, and projectile weapons, right? The blunt weapon is fantastic because so many things fit. It could be a pull stick, it could be literally a stick, it could be a hammer, it could be any number of things. The movements are all applying fairly similar.
That's right.
Right? So you're learning a whole class of, and in this way, in some ways it's the least deadly weapon, right? A gun is by its very nature extremely deadly. Yeah. A knife, of course, is very deadly. You could potentially, you're going to hurt somebody, but this is kind of the least deadly. And also, between this and the knife, this gives you much more range control, right? So it's harder for me to get hold of you with this.
That's right. Also, as you mentioned, that you can, with a blunt weapon, you can incorporate it to the body movement. It's funny to say that the Filipino martial arts has approximately 3 names for the stick fighting arts or knife fighting arts. It's Kali, Arnis, and Eskrima.
Right. And
Kali comes from Kamot Lihuk or Kamai Lihuk, which means hand or body motion. So it doesn't matter if you have a stick or an axe, a sword in your hand. Right. The hand motion, the body motion is always the same.
Okay. Oh, fantastic. So, if you are looking to be a complete self-defense person, you should train how to defend against weapons, but also train how to use weapons, because you used the term before. In the military, they use it constantly, a force multiplier, right? A black belt without a weapon and a blue belt with a stick who has a little bit of training, well, my black belt isn't meaning a whole lot at that moment, all right?
Also, I'm the opinion that to defend yourself well against weapons, you have to know how to use the weapon.
Exactly. Just like I was doing a private lesson with somebody, and they were saying, "Well, I already know how to strike, so I don't need to learn how to strike." And I didn't come to Jiu-Jitsu private. No offense, he said, I don't want to really learn the striking. And I said, that's fine, but I need to know that you know how to do the striking, so I can teach you how to defend the striking. So I need to know that you actually are competent enough that we can do the defense to it. This is why, even though, for instance, in Jiu-Jitsu class, I don't want my students out here banging, we still practice how to throw correctly, because you need to know how to defeat somebody
Who knows what he's doing?
who knows what he's doing. People don't know what they're doing, but still, somebody understands how to at least move around, be aware of what striking looks like.
Also, if you are used to use weapons, you know the con sides also of the weapon.
Right, right.
The parts which are not that effective, the positions you can go in which are not effective, or which give you a better chance to defend yourself against the attacker. So like, what is very important in the Filipino martial arts is that you do not collect techniques and drills, but you understand what you're doing, and that means that you have, we call it, you have an idea of what you want to do, and using this idea you have strategies and tactics. Like if we do knife against knife, our idea is that if this is your knife hand, I will never be in between your other hand and your knife hand, because you can grab me and stab me, you can hit me with that. So my first idea is to go outside.
Right.
Also, my technique using a knife must stop your movement, and stabbing your throat, your heart, your belly button will not even, it will not stop you, because we saw this video several days ago where the police shoots 8 times and the guy is still running forward. A knife won't stop you.
Right.
So what we try to cut are positions which, when I cut your forearm, then your hand will pop up and you will not be able to hold the knife anymore.
Right.
When I cut your biceps or triceps, your arm will get in this position or in this position, but you cannot use it anymore.
Right.
If I cut this muscle, then you cannot stand anymore.
Right.
So these are the targets I have. My target is not your eye, your throat, your heart, because that will kill you. I don't want to kill you, and even not just that, it will kill you after a while if I'm not that lucky.
Right.
So, and you will hurt me in that while. 1 minute of a fight is a lot.
Right.
So if you do 1 minute of stick sparring or knife sparring, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And the idea is you should have an idea what you're doing, and you should have strategies and tactics using that. If you don't have that, you will just react, and hopefully you will react correctly, but most of the time, because of the stress level, of the adrenaline, of the ground slippery, you will not react that not that good like you hope to react.
Right.
So in every Filipino martial arts style, there is an idea behind it. Like the largo mano is you go out of the distance and defang the snake. In knife, you go out of the arm in the outside position and attack the positions which will stop the threat immediately.
Now, the defanging the snake also could mean, even if I don't have a weapon, if you damage my arms, it's very hard for me to hit you, grab you, things like that. It's not just necessarily just trying to only learn that to make the person drop a weapon.
No. You have the defang the snake principle in the Filipino martial arts, even if you put your arms out.
Right.
And I have maybe a key in my hand, and the keys are sticking out here, and you have your arms up. I can do that.
Right.
And I can hurt your fist, and you cannot use that anymore.
Right.
This is also defang the snake principle.
Yeah. It's a little bit like, this is way off topic, but it's a little bit by why I, in Jiu-Jitsu I tag wrists so much. And I want to make people afraid to use their hands, and also in a real situation, if I break your wrist, it's very hard. People, I'll break his foot, I'll break his elbow. And those are very powerful, right? But this is the number one physical thing people use.
Yeah, they will grab.
Yeah, they'll grab, they'll punch. If I break that, that's not going to do so much. What you were saying is really true. Like, there's two sides, right? If you learn the weapon, you have to learn how to keep the weapon and control the weapon. If you learn empty hand, you should also learn how to use the weapon. So if you're learning Jiu-Jitsu and you're learning control, also learn a weapon. And if you're learning a weapon, of course, learn like a Jiu-Jitsu style thing where you learn how to control the weapon, or incorporate that obviously in your weapon defense. Don't just think, I'm going to pick up a stick and beat somebody up.
Yeah. Also, choose a weapon style which spars a lot.
Right.
Because sparring is the most important thing. Testing testing the skills, getting used to the chaos, getting used to adrenaline. You don't have to get hurt. You have protection, but you will get a lot for distance management, for reaction time, and you know how to handle stand-up aggression and all the pressure. So if you train a martial art without any sparring, then it's like dry swimming, like Bruce Lee called it.
Right.
You try to swim without getting wet, and that's not possible.
And I think, slightly off topic, but not really, I think one of the actual other benefits of it is if you and I are stick fighting, either stick to stick or stick versus, but let's say we're stick fighting, what's our range going to be?
We have 3 kinds of ranges, but most of the time we are outside.
Right? Wouldn't this be a great range to make instinctive in you from a self-defense standpoint?
Yeah.
Whereas what happens in self-defense point, or even in a sport grappling, if you do stand up even, right? What do people do? Well, what range am I at? I'm at knockout range.
That's right.
I'm teaching myself to be comfortable with a threat, to be standing exactly where he wanted to be to hit me, right? Or sometimes people maybe start from here, but even then,
Still.
yeah. But if you trained a lot with that,
Yeah,
this would be the position, and this is exactly the Gracie distance. Ideal. Again, it's not always going to happen that way,
Yeah.
but ideal. That would train you to make that your default distance and not
Yep.
this your default distance.
That's right. Most of the martial arts I trained in, they start in the distance where punches and kicks can happen immediately.
Right. Yeah. Which is
deadly.
well, which again is where they're making that switch from. They're saying self-defense, but what they really mean is fighting. This is a fighting range.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
If it's grappling, it can be safe. If it's boxing, then you're in the pocket, right? Or maybe just outside the pocket. But again, the focus in those is to win, and you're also not worried about if you get injured because the fight will get stopped for you.
And sometimes, maybe this is a little bit off topic, but I just want to make a point clear is, it is not the speed what makes the difference. I mean, if we are in this range where I can touch him, and he's positioned to block my arm, I don't have to be fast to make sure that he's not able to block. I can be slow but direct, and he still is not able to block my arm. Can you try? So if I try to touch you, block my arm. Yeah, I touched you. You feel that?
Yeah.
One more. I'm not doing pa. I'm doing it slow.
Yeah.
Huh? You don't have to be fast. The reaction time isn't enough in that distance.
Well, the thing is, I was trying to explain this to somebody else, right? Is that if I throw a punch, let's say I throw a punch from here, there's a good chance you'll block that, right? But when my hand moves here, by the time you even see it coming,
you will not get
there's no way. So people who tell you, I'm going to stand here, block.
No.
Again, that's a fantasy, right? And you notice also why it was hard was it came from down here.
Outside. And I don't have adrenaline, so I don't have the tunnel vision.
Right.
And still I was not able to see it. And
right.
Imagine I have the tunnel vision, I will see it. I don't right. see it at all, I will just feel it.
Yeah, so, this is why training a martial art, even if you just take what little you've learned from Erkan, or you train with him some or train with somebody, the footwork, we come back full circle. The footwork, and we talked about this in our multiple opponents, is the key, right? Because you're managing the distance and you're managing the angles. You talked a lot about angles. Anytime you can train, and I'm talking now to jiu-jitsu people, in a way that really builds up those muscles of understanding the distance and angle. I did Wing Chun for a long time, and whatever you think about it, good or bad, the one thing it was good about was, and I think it applies to my pressure game a lot, is, it's always dealing with structures, right? And how does it deal with structures, right? It's always redirecting and then angling in on the structure, right? This motion of getting behind the elbow and coming in, you rolled me. How often do I use that principle?
All the time.
right? You know, the footwork and everything, it could be the same as, you know, passing, but just having that idea of from a self-defense standpoint, if you can really be comfortable with controlling the distance and controlling the angles, that's 95% of the game.
That's right. That's right.
Right? And
yeah, if they have any questions about weapon, just
yep.
comment down below, and we will make a video of it.
And you can find Erkan on Instagram.
Yeah.
At ErkanMe.
Erkan down
underscore
ME.
Yep.
You can find me there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.